Ghostly tales, yet mirrors of human life. Hey everyone! Welcome to Encountering Chinese, Ghostly Tales from Liao Zhai. Today, I'm going to tell you two short stories. The first story is titled Luo Zu. Luo Zu was from Jima and grew up in a poor family. When he came of age, his family needed to select a strong young man to serve at the northern border, so the elders chose Luo Zu for the military duty. He served at the border for several years, during which time his wife gave birth to a son. The commanding officer valued him highly, and when he was promoted to be the deputy general of Shaanxi, he wanted Luo Zu to accompany him to Shaanxi for the appointment. Since his son was still young and could not travel far, Luo Zu entrusted his wife and child to a friend named Li for care while he went to Shaanxi on his own. 3 more years passed, and Luo Zu still did not have a suitable opportunity to return home. One day, the commanding officer needed someone to deliver a message to the northern border, and Luo Zu volunteered for the task, hoping to take the chance to visit his wife and son. The commanding officer understood his intention and readily agreed. When Luo Zu returned home, he was relieved to find that his wife and son were safe and sound. However, he discovered a man's pair of shoes under the bed, which led him to feel suspicious. He then went to visit his friend Li to express his gratitude. Li bought wine and warmly hosted Luo Zu, while his wife recounted many stories of how Li had helped them. Luo Zu was filled with gratitude for his friend. The next day, Luo Zu told his wife, "Today I'm going to deliver a message for the commanding officer, and I won't be back until tonight. You should go to bed early and don't wait for me." After saying this, he rode off on his horse. After delivering the message, Luo Zu hid near his home, planning to return after dark. At that moment, he heard his wife and his friend Li talking while lying on the bed, which filled him with rage. He kicked the door open and stormed into the room. The two were so frightened that they knelt on the ground, desperately begging for mercy. Luo Zu furiously drew his knife, but after a moment, he sheathed it again. He said to his friend Li, "At first, I considered you a true friend. But now, with your actions, even if I kill you today, I would be disgusted to get your blood on my knife. From now on, I solemnly tell you that my wife and son will belong to you. You will take over my military duties, and all my horses and weapons are right here. I'm leaving." With that, he turned and walked away. The neighbors felt it was unfair for Luo Zu and reported the matter to the local government. The county magistrate captured Li and tortured him, eventually extracting the full truth from him. However, even though Li argued that Luo Zu had spared them, no one knew the details of the incident. The magistrate dispatched people to search for Luo Zu, but no one could find him. Suspecting that Luo Zu had been killed by his wife and Li, the magistrate imprisoned both of them. A year passed, and still no one had seen Luo Zu. Eventually, both his wife and Li died in prison from illness. In desperation, the magistrate had to send Luo Zu's son back to the Luo family in Jima. Years later, in Shixing village, a woodcutter went up the mountain to gather firewood and saw a strange Taoist sitting in a cave, meditating without eating or drinking. When the people around heard about it, they found it quite strange and brought food to the cave to offer to the Taoist. Someone recognized the Taoist and said he was the missing Luo Zu. Gradually, more and more people climbed the mountain to bring food for Luo Zu, and the entire cave was filled with food, yet Luo Zu never ate anything. Later, Luo Zu began to show signs of annoyance at the noise, and people gradually stopped coming. After several years, the weeds outside the cave grew thick like a small forest. Some people secretly peeked in and saw that Luo Zu was still sitting in the same place, motionless. After a long time, someone saw Luo Zu come out and walk on the mountain, but when they approached, he vanished again. When the person peeked back into the cave, they found Luo Zu still sitting there, his clothes covered in thick dust accumulated from years of not moving. The people around felt puzzled. A few days later, when someone went to check again, they found that Luo Zu was already dead, with divine liquid oozing from his nostrils, confirming that he had attained immortality. Later, the locals built a temple for him, and every year during the third month of the lunar calendar, crowds would come to the temple to burn incense. Luo Zu's son also came to burn incense, and people referred to him as Little Luo Zu, giving him the offerings collected from the devotees. Even today, Luo Zu's descendants still visit the temple once a year to collect the incense money. A man from Yishui named Liu Zhongyu told me the details of this story. After listening, I laughed and said to him, "Nowadays, those devout Buddhists don't aspire to be saints or sages, they only wish to become immortals. I really want to tell these people. To become a god or Buddha, you must first put down the butcher's knife in your hand." The second story is titled, Liu. In Sichuan County, there was a man with the surname Liu, known for his fierce and barbaric nature, like a tiger in human skin, and everyone around him kept their distance. Later, Liu left Sichuan County and moved to the neighboring Yishui County, but he did not change his bad habits, and the locals both hated and feared him. The Liu family owned several acres of land, which bordered the land of a family with the surname Miao. The Miao family was hard-working and had planted many peach trees along the edge of their field. When the peaches ripened, the son of the Miao family climbed the tree to pick some. Liu, seeing this, became furious and angrily chased him away, claiming that the peach trees belonged to the Liu family. When the Miao family's son returned home and cried to his father about what had happened, the Miao family head was astonished. At that moment, Liu, still cursing, had arrived at the Miao family's home, threatening to report them to the authorities. The Miao head quickly smiled and tried to appease him, but Liu was still full of rage and left in anger. At that time, a fellow townsman of Liu's, Li Zuisher, happened to have opened a pawn shop in Yishui County. Liu went into town with his legal documents and coincidentally ran into Li. Since they were from the same hometown, they began to chat. Li Zuisher asked, "What brings you here?" Liu told him about his intention to sue. Li Zuisher laughed and said, Everyone knows your reputation. I've known the Miao family for a long time, and the head of the Miao family is a kind person. How could he possibly take your peach trees? Those trees probably belong to the Miao family. With that, Li Zuisha tore up Liu's legal documents and warmly invited him into his pawn shop, hoping to mediate the situation. However, Liu was still seething with anger and secretly took a pen from the shop to write another complaint, hiding it in his clothing, insisting that he would go to the authorities. Not long after, Miao also came to the pawn shop and detailed the events to Li Zuisha, pleading for his help to mediate and prevent Liu from filing a complaint. Miao told Li Zuisha, "I'm just a farmer and have lived half my life without ever seeing the county magistrate. If Liu doesn't pursue the lawsuit, it's only a few peach trees. I'll just give him some." Li Zuisha then called Liu out and informed him that Miao was willing to compromise and would give him some of the peach trees. Yet, Liu continued to rant and curse vehemently. Miao, for his part, only tried to speak kindly and comforting, not daring to argue back. After this incident, 4 or 5 days later, Li Zuisha encountered someone from Liu's village and asked about Liu's recent situation. The person replied that Liu had already died. Li was very surprised and lamented the suddenness of the news. One day, while Li Zuisha was out on an errand, he saw a person with a cane approaching from the opposite direction. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be Liu. As they got closer, Liu warmly greeted Li and invited him to his home for a visit. Li, hesitating, asked, "A few days ago, I heard about your death. How can you be walking around like this now?" Liu did not answer immediately but took him to the village, and once at home, he prepared a feast for him. After they had a few drinks, Liu finally explained. "The rumors you heard a few days ago weren't false. That day, when I went out, I encountered 2 people on the road who claimed they were going to take me to the authorities. I questioned them about the reason, but they said they didn't know. I thought to myself that I had been to the authorities many times over the years, so I wasn't afraid and went along with them. When we arrived at the authorities, I met an official who looked furious and shouted at me. 'Are you the one with the surname Liu? You have done so many evil deeds without remorse and even want to take others' possessions for yourself. Someone like you, so violent and brutal, deserves to be thrown into a pot of oil.' An official beside him, after flipping through some records, loudly said, 'This person has done one good deed and should not die yet.' The official looked puzzled, took the records to examine, and his expression softened a bit. He then sternly said, 'Fine, send him back for now.' Following this, dozens of people shouted at me and drove me away. Naturally, I was confused and shouted, 'Why did you want to arrest me, and now why are you sending me back? Please, Your Honor, clarify this.' A clerk came down holding the records and pointed to a line that read, 'In the 13th year of Chongjin, Liu used 300 coins to help a couple reunite.' The clerk told me, 'If it weren't for this deed, you would be dead today. Given your usual behavior, you would be a beast in your next life.' Hearing this, I was extremely frightened and quickly followed the 2 who had captured me. But later, those two demanded a bribe from me. I angrily replied, "Don't you know that I, Liu, have been in and out of the authorities for the past 20 years? I'm the one who specializes in extorting money from others. You're just trying to take meat from a tiger's mouth." Only then did they dare not speak further. They escorted me back to the village, clasped their hands in a salute, and said, "This mission was truly dull, and we didn't even get a cup of water." After they left, I entered my home and suddenly came to my senses. Later, I learned that I had already been dead for 2 days. Li Zuishe was surprised by this and asked Liu why he had used 300 coins to help the couple reunite back then. Liu explained that in the 13th year of Chongjin, a severe drought occurred, leading to instances of cannibalism. At that time, Liu was living in Sichuan County and working as a bailiff in the county office. One day, he saw a man and woman crying sorrowfully and approached them to inquire about their distress. They replied, "We are a married couple, and we've only been married for a little over a year. This year, due to the famine, we cannot ensure that both of us will survive, which is why we are so sad." Liu initially ignored them, but after a while, he ran into the couple again at the oil shop, where they seemed to be arguing about something. Liu approached once more to ask what was happening. The shopkeeper explained, "This couple is on the verge of starving to death, and they come to me every day asking for sesame paste. Now the man is saying he wants to sell his wife to me, but I already have more than 10 servants and cannot afford to buy another. I told the man that if he was willing to lower the price for his wife, I could consider it, otherwise, it's a no-go. Isn't it ridiculous that he keeps pestering me? What more can I do?" Upon hearing this, the man said, "Grain is as precious as pearls during this famine. If I don't have 300 coins, I won't have enough for our journey to escape the famine. I am reluctantly selling my wife to ensure we both survive. If selling her doesn't keep us alive, why would I even consider it? I'm not trying to bargain, I just hope you can show compassion for us and help us survive. Consider it a good deed, and it will surely bless your descendants." Feeling some pity for the couple, Liu asked the shopkeeper what price he was willing to offer. The shopkeeper replied, "A woman is worth at most 100 coins. Liu urged the shopkeeper not to offer less than 300 coins and even offered to pay half himself to help them out. However, the shopkeeper was unwilling to offer even 150 coins. Young and impetuous, Liu turned to the man and said, "This shopkeeper is truly stingy. You don't have to bargain with him. I'll give you 300 coins. This way, you can escape together and won't be separated. Isn't that better?" He then pulled out 300 coins from his pocket and handed them to the couple. They thanked him profusely with tears in their eyes and left. After sharing this story, Li Zuishe had a newfound admiration for Liu. From that point on, Liu changed his ways and ceased his previous misdeeds. Even now, Liu is over 70 years old and still in good health. Last year, when Li Zuishe visited Zhou village, he happened to see Liu arguing with someone, and despite the crowd's attempts to mediate, it was futile. Li Zuishe smiled and called out, Are you going to the authorities again over that peach tree matter? Upon hearing this, Liu immediately transformed his anger into laughter, lowered his hands, and stopped the commotion. In the conclusion of the story, the author provided some commentary. He noted that both Li Zuisha and Liu were among the few wealthy individuals without official positions. However, Li Zuisha was more honorable and prudent, enjoying doing good deeds and never using his wealth to bully others in the village. Whenever he was mentioned, everyone praised him as a sincere and respectful gentleman. Observing how he mediated disputes and encouraged good deeds, people could see his character. The ancients often said, "The rich lack benevolence." I truly wonder whether Li Zuisha became wealthy after demonstrating benevolence or if he developed his benevolence only after becoming wealthy. Alright. That's all for today's ghostly tales. Luo Zu and Liu. If you enjoyed these stories, please give us a like and subscribe. Please also encourage everyone to comment and share more. We'll see you in the next episode.